Okay. So it's good to know, but why shouldn't I just claim at 62? And because you might be sitting there saying, well, this is all well and good, but I could claim at 62 and collect 8 years worth of checks, or I could collect at 70. Why wouldn't I just go collect at 62? Well, that's a great question. And I get asked that an awful lot. So let me go through that a little bit and just share that with you. So your benefit will be reduced if you claim early. So remember, the PIA, your primary insurance amount, is the amount you're entitled to if you wait till full retirement age to take it. If you elect to take it earlier, then you don't get the PIA. You're going to get a reduced amount. And it may also be reduced for taxes and Medicare premiums, and benefits could be withheld if you work. So a lot of not good things happen if you go early. So let's talk a little bit more about that and going early, collecting early. So when should I apply for benefits? Well, here are the factors that you should consider. And I said I'd bring these up later in the presentation because no two people are the same. It could very well be that 62 is your option because you have to have the income. I do understand that. I really do. But here are the other factors you should consider in when to turn on your Social Security. Health status. How healthy are you? And what I've often showed people is that you can collect a lot more out of the system at age 70 than you can at age 62. And you might say to me, well, I could collect 8 more years of checks at age 62. What's the crossover point? So in other words, what's the point in time that the bigger check that you would start at age 70 surpasses the amount of money you'd get at age 62? And it is about age 79 to 81, somewhere in there. So what I'll tell people is that if you have longevity in your family and everyone lives into their 80s and 90s, I'll show you very clearly on an Excel document how you can collect more out of the system if you start at 70 than if you started at 62. Conversely, if everyone in your family dies of heart failure in their early 70s, well, then 62 might be the right age for you to turn on. It very well could be. So this is why I'm saying this is not a one-size-fits-all shoe. It really depends on your situation. Nextly, life expectancy, no surprise there. So life expectancy, if you're going to live longer, you'll collect more out of this system if you collect later in the system. Need for income, talked about that one already. Whether or not you plan to work. So if you decide to collect Social Security early before your full retirement age and you're going to work, you are going to be subject to something called the earnings test. And I'll go into that a little bit more. I have a chart coming up. And lastly, you definitely want to be thinking about the survivor needs. The way Social Security works for a survivor is that they take the 2 checks of a husband and wife, and whoever passes away, the remaining spouse gets the higher check. It's not the average of the 2. They get the higher check. The other check goes away. So there's considerations there when you lose a spouse. Besides losing your loved one, a lot of bad things occur there. Number one, your income goes down because you've lost one of the 2 Social Security checks. Number 2, your taxes go up because now you're no longer a joint filer, you're now a single filer. Your deductions go down because now you don't have 2 deductions, standard deductions you can take, you only have 1. So it's a lot of items that you want to look at on how it affects the surviving spouse. But these are the considerations that you want to have when you're thinking about when to take Social Security. So will Social Security enough for retirement? Well, probably not. I think I answered that before. Unless, again, you decide to relocate to the Dominican, which is not a bad thing. I always like to show this chart, too, because people will say, well, what is my full retirement age? And this is on your Social Security benefit. They reference this as well. They tell you what your full retirement age is. But your full retirement age is basically the year of when you were born. So if you were born between 43 and 54, your full retirement age is still 66. However, for those who were born after 54, so 1955, for example, your full retirement age is 66 and 2 months. And this was Reagan did. So Reagan basically added this tier structure, if you will, where it goes up by 2 months each year until you get to age, year 1960, and then 67 is your full retirement age. It's 67 in 1960. So what if you apply for early benefits? Well, interestingly, I said this before. So look right here. If your full retirement age is 67, and you decide to wait till 67 to apply for your benefit, you'll get 100% of it. However, if your full retirement age is 67 and you decide to collect at age 62, well, then you're only going to get 70% of your benefit. So it's important that you know that you don't get 100% of your benefit if you decide to collect the benefit early. And incidentally, this is actuarially reduced. You don't then spring up to a bigger number once you turn full retirement age. If you made the election to start your Social Security early, then your check is going to stay lower for the rest of your life, including cost of living adjustments. They will be based on a lower number. That's how they work. So, very important to consider this. All right, so what if you apply after full retirement age? So this chart is probably the most important of all my charts I'm talking about. You get something called delayed credits. If you wait to take your check, the federal government, and let's just look at this column here, 66. Let's say your benefit, your PIA, your primary insurance amount is age 60, at full retirement age is 66. So let's say if you apply at 66 and your full retirement age is 66, you'll get 100% of the benefit. But here's something interesting. Well, I don't need the income, so I'm not going to take it. Well, if you're in that boat and perhaps you're still working, that's a great reason not to take your Social Security check because you're still working. You have an income stream. No need to add to it. You're okay. Well, the federal government will add 8% onto the check, guaranteed. Guaranteed. This is a big deal. They'll add 8% to your check every year you wait till age 70. So you'll get 32% more at age 70 than you would at age 66, guaranteed from the government. In order for me to do that as an investment advisor, I'd have to get an 8% return on your money. I'd have to have you in what? I'd have to have you in stock. And if you're in stock, you're taking a greater what? Risk. So this is a guaranteed 8% you'd receive on your income. I think that it's very much in your best interest to look at this seriously to see how you could delay your Social Security till age 60 to age 70, if indeed you could, especially the older spouse, the higher, excuse me, not the older spouse, excuse me, the spouse who has the higher earnings. Now, that could be the woman, that could be the man, it doesn't matter, just the spouse who has the higher earnings. Traditionally, it has been the man, but that's changing. Women are increasing in the workforce as far as the income that they can achieve, and it's just a wonderful thing. So this is a huge chart with regard to strategizing on how to take retirement income. If you're going to get 8% guaranteed from Social Security and you have a 2% CD, IRA CD that you could use, should you use the IRA CD or should you use Social Security to cover the income you want? Well, there's tax planning that goes into the math here, but looking at it that way, I would, if you're not working anymore, I would use the CD. So, but Kevin, that's going to be a taxable event. Yeah, but what tax bracket are you in if you don't have any income? So you have to work this in such a manner that you most efficiently get the money out of the plan. Saving for retirement, you just keep putting money away. But when you start distributing that money to yourself, there's more attributes and more things and more complexities that you want to think through in order to mitigate the amount of taxes you pay. Okay, so how to estimate Social Security benefits. Listen, these are good estimators. I reference here socialsecurity.gov, my account. Incidentally, that just brought up something else. If you haven't created a Social Security account online, please go in and do that. It's very informative, and you could run kind of estimators on your own to see what the values you could receive as far as your check goes. Okay, so those are the various calculators there, and I would recommend you go on and try them. I think they're very good. Okay, so why delay benefits? Well, bigger checks to start. So let's just take a look at someone who's age 62. Their PIA is 67. Well, if they start at 62, they only get 70% of the benefits. So benefit without COLA, 21. With COLA, well, they turned it on. So that's the same. So here we go with, if you start at 63, you claim your benefit at 63. Well, get 75%. And again, you see the COLA gets larger. So let's jump down to 70. Well, at 70, if you collected 70, you get 24% more than if you started at 67. So benefit without COLA is $37.20. With COLA, it really starts to, it's $639. It really starts to change the game. So delaying benefits actually gets you more guaranteed income. Why delay benefits? Well, let's even go even further. Let's say you turn 85 and you had claimed at 62. Well, you would be collecting $33.11. If you claimed at 67, it'd be $47.31. But if you waited till 70 with all the delayed credits, you'd be getting $5,866. Folks, it's almost like another check. If you compare the claim at 70 to the claim at 62, it's almost like you got a second check in there. It really does grow quite a bit for those that wait, Okay, how can I maximize my benefits? Well, a couple of things. Look at your Social Security statement and make sure it's correct. And this is why I recommend everyone create an online ID, print out exactly what they know to be your benefits each year, because they could have some missing years. I will never forget, I had a meeting with someone who came into my office, and I asked them to bring their Social Security Social Security statement with them. And looking through this statement, and in 1980, 80, everything, and I looked at 83 and 1983, skipped 1984, and went into 1985. And I said, "Did you not work in 1984?" And the gentleman said, "I've been at Johnson & Johnson for 35 years. Of course I worked in 1984. And I just showed him the statement. I said, "Well, according to Social Security, you never worked in 1984, so you're not getting credit for that record." And he took the thing out of my hands, and he couldn't believe it. He never noticed that before, that the statement was not accurate. Plain and simple, was not accurate. And it's up to you to go get that corrected. It's up to you to get that, find it and get it corrected. So again, is it accurate? Are there any missing years? In that case, with that gentleman, there certainly was. And I mentioned this third one earlier. Can you improve it by working longer? So if you only have 31 years of earnings, and that's your top 35 years, and you have 4 years of zeros, well, is there any possibility of you working another 1 or 2 years to change those zeros to some number? Because that'll improve your primary insurance amount. It is very critical. It really is. All right. Apply at the optimal time. So what does that mean? Well, that's different for everybody. What are your future income needs? What are your income needs, both now and in the future? Can you get those income needs satisfied by maybe part-time work, or taking from an IRA, like I mentioned before, paying tax on it because you're in a lower tax bracket than you were while you were working? What is your life expectancy? That goes into the math. And what's your spouse's life expectancy? That certainly goes into it as well. Taxation of benefits. Let me just touch upon this briefly. This is the earnings test that I had mentioned before, and I'm just going to talk about a little bit more detail on how this indeed works. And folks, this only applies if you apply for Social Security before your full retirement age and you decide to work. So let's just say, your full retirement age is 67, and let's say that you decide to turn on your Social Security at age 63. Well, and you're working. Well, you're going to be subject to this earnings test. And here's what happens. For every dollar in benefit, a dollar in benefit will be withheld for every $2 that you make over a certain threshold. And this year, the threshold is $22,320. So what Social Security allows, if you decide to turn on your Social Security check early, i.e. before full retirement age, and you want to work, they allow you to make $22,320 before they affect or decrement any part of your Social Security. So I call that the chit. They give you a little chit, okay, $22,320. If you make above that, now they start decrementing what you get in Social Security. Benefit is going to be adjusted at full retirement age, okay, but they do decrease the benefit. Don't let the earnings test discourage you from working, okay? Let me explain that. Let me just take a moment. So this is like changing the oil in flight. So let's just say you turn on your benefit at age 63 and you decide to continue to work. So at age 63, you're going to have a new earnings record. And if that earnings record at age 63 is better than the prior 35, the highest 35, then what you're going to find is that your Social Security record, even though you're collecting it, actually improves because you've now added another year of earnings to the record because you worked at age 63. So that will look at your Social Security record, to look at the top 35. If you have any that are lower than, let's just say, $40,000 that you made working, it's going to replace that earnings record with the $40,000. What will that do to your Social Security check the following year? Boop, it'll increase it. It'll increase it. That's why I say don't let the earnings test discourage you from working, because those earnings are now contributing to a new calculation of what your future Social Security check will be. If you want to avoid the earnings test totally, well, then wait till full retirement age before you apply for your benefits, because then the earnings test is different. Okay, it still exists, but there's just it's applied in a different manner.